Hey, it's Samantha, and this is Ever After Adventures, where we chase the magic, outsmart the chaos, and make Disney work for us. Let's rope drop this. Okay, controversial opinion right out of the gate. Some Disney upcharges are absolutely ridiculous, and some of them, they actually change your entire trip. Because listen, Disney is experience already. I don't need to pay an extra $400 to stand in another line while holding a $9 iced coffee that melted emotionally before I did. But there are a few extras at Walt Disney World that made me stop mid-trip and go, oh, that's why people spend the money. Today, we're ranking my top 5 Walt Disney World extras that are genuinely worth it, not just for adults who know the backstory of every lamp on Main Street, but for actual families, tired moms, overwhelmed planners, and people who want their Disney trip to feel more magical and less like survival cardio. We're talking behind the scenes tours, after hours events, immersive experiences, animal encounters, and yes, building a lightsaber that somehow emotionally wrecked grown adults. And I'm not just giving you the what, I'm giving you who it's actually worth it for, who should skip it, and the sneaky strategy that makes these extras feel worth the price. This episode happened because I had one of those very humbling Disney parent moments. You know, when you go into a trip with a very firm stance, like we are not spending extra money this trip, very financially responsible, very mature. And then suddenly you're standing in Galaxy's Edge watching a grown man ignite a custom lightsaber while dramatic music plays. And now you're emotional. That's Disney. Disney is basically here's a core memory you didn't budget for. But first, let's get into the pixie dust. Before we jump into the list, can we talk about how good Disney has gotten at immersive experiences lately? When Disney nails immersion, nobody touches them. Disney understands emotional storytelling better than anyone. The best example is Savi's Workshop. Technically, you're paying a lot of money for a lightsaber. If you explain it to someone outside the Disney bubble, it sounds unwell. Hi, yes, I paid over $250 for a fake weapon while a cast member spoke to me in character. But then you do it, and suddenly you're standing in this dimly lit hidden workshop while music swells and everyone ignites their sabers at the same exact moment. And it weirdly feels emotional. I watch people tearing up in there, full adults. Disney doesn't just sell you an object, they sell you participation in a story. That's what separates the worth it experiences from the overpriced ones. Next, let's get into the plot twist. Now, before I sound like Bob Eager's unpaid intern, let's discuss the biggest misunderstanding with Disney extras. People think worth it means worth it for everyone. No, absolutely not. Some of these are terrible fits depending on your kids' ages, your energy level, or whether your family melts down after 2 p.m. and 90% humidity. Like Keys to the Kingdom, amazing. But if your kids are tiny and you're already stressed, you're not doing that. The best Disney trips are balanced. Honestly, sometimes paying for one extra experience that reduces stress or creates a huge memory is smarter than trying to maximize every second. You do not need military grade spreadsheet and a stress rash to have a magical vacation. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with number 5, and that's going to be caring for giants. At Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's an experience called Caring for Giants. Honestly, this is probably the best value on the entire list. It's around $35, which in Disney dollars is basically the price of 3 pretzels and a prayer. You go backstage with animal experts and get insanely close to the elephants. Tiny dot across the savannah close. I mean, close. This is where you find peace. Disney parks are loud and chaotic. This is one of those ways Disney can lower your nervous system volume. And listen, if you're sitting there thinking, Samantha, is this just me paying for a billionaire's lawn maintenance? Here is the cool part you actually need to know. Since 1995, Disney has been running the Disney Conservation Fund, and it is legit. We're talking over $141 million directed to nonprofit organizations across the globe. They've helped protect more than 1,000 species and positively impacted 20 million people by connecting them with nature. When you book something like Caring for Giants, you aren't just paying for a view of an elephant, you are supporting a company that is actively rewilding corridors in Kenya, protecting hammerhead sharks in the Florida Keys, and restoring butterfly habitats in California. It's part of what they call Disney Planet Possible. So the extra you're paying for, it's actually funding the scientists and the boots on the ground heroes, making sure these animals exist for our grandkids to see too. It's one of the few times at Disney where your splurge has a global heartbeat. So who is it for? It's for animal lovers, families with older kids, and moms who are overstimulated by day four. This is not adrenaline Disney. This is pause and appreciate Disney. So that is number five. Number four is Keys to the Kingdom. If you're a Disney history nerd or you just like knowing how the sausage is made, this is the gold standard. I was reading a review from Second Dad to the Right, and he hit the nail on the head. This tour is for the people who want to walk through Magic Kingdom and actually understand what they're looking at. You aren't just walking, you're deciphering. You'll learn that the names on the windows of Main Street aren't just random. They're the opening credits of the park honoring people who built it. You'll learn why pavement in Liberty Square is brown. Spoiler alert, it's a historically accurate filth train from the colonial days. Gross, but it is fascinating. And let's talk about the utilidors. Everyone wants to see the tunnels, right? You go through this unassuming door near the carousel, and suddenly you're in the nerve center. You might see a Cinderella dress being repaired or a stormtrooper grabbing a snack on his lunch break. It's like entering Disney conspiracy theory headquarters. The Samantha strategy note. This tour is roughly around 5 hours and it's strictly ages 16 and up. Disney is very protective of the magic. They don't want a 10-year-old seeing a half dressed Mickey Mouse in the tunnels. Also, a pro tip from Second Dad blog, the name tag they give you is metal. So if you put it in your bag, it will set off security scanners. So keep it on your shirt. It's a walking tour, but it's slow paced. It's perfect for an adult only trip or a solo adventure where you want to geek out without a toddler pulling on your arm. All right, let's go to number three, the Wild Africa Trek. If you want to feel like you've actually left Florida and landed in the middle of a National Geographic special, the Wild Africa Trek is your move. I was just looking at a review from Sunshine Whispers, and she brought up a point that every mom needs to hear. This is the un-Disney Disney experience. You aren't just sitting in a truck, you're on a nature trail with tree roots and uneven grounds. So leave the cute sandals in your hotel. You need closed-toe shoes with a back strap, or they won't even let you start. You're going to get geared up in a vest and harness that makes you look like you're about to skydive. And then you're walking across rope bridges that are intentionally rickety. Not for me. Yes, there are crocodiles directly beneath your feet. Yes, your heart will beat a little faster. But as Sunshine Whispers points out, the safety line gives you that mom-approved confidence to actually enjoy the view. So let's talk the Samantha strategy note. Here is the insider tip you won't get from the brochure. If you can, try to go last in your group. Why? Because when you're last, you don't have anyone behind you rushing along. You can linger on that bridge, take an extra second to stare at the hippos, and get those professional photos without a stranger's head in the background. And let's talk about the food. It's served in a little tiffin, which is a tiered camp tin, at a private overlook on the savannah. It's high-end stuff like prosciutto and tandoori shrimp. If you have picky eaters or allergies, tell them when you book. They are amazing at customizing the menu. It's 3 hours of pure, quiet adrenaline, and honestly, it's the perfect antidote to the survival cardio. Next, number two, Savvy's Workshop. Now, let's get into the lightsaber-sized elephant in the room. Is $250 too much for a custom souvenir? If you ask Tom Bricker over at Disney Tourist Blog, he'll tell you something that really resonated with me. You aren't just paying for the scrap metal, you're paying for the private venue. Think about it. Hollywood Studios is usually a high stress, high crowd environment. But for those 20 minutes inside Savvy's, you are in a climate controlled, quiet, emotionally charged sanctuary with only 14 other people. That exclusivity is a huge part of the price tag. So let's talk about the Samantha strategy note. Here's the magic move for Savvy's that I picked up from the pros. Book your appointment for after the sun goes down. There is nothing, and I mean nothing more anticlimactic than building a glowing cinematic weapon and then walking out into the blinding 2 p.m. Florida sun. You want that big reveal moment to happen when Galaxy's Edge is glowing at night. Walking through Batu with your saber lit up in the dark, that is when the $250 starts to feel like a bargain. Also, a practical mom tip, these things are heavy and they are long. If you're flying home, don't panic. The carrying case they give you is considered a personal item by most airlines. But if you don't want to lug it through the airport, you can actually head over to First Order Cargo or Droid Depot and have them ship it home for a flat fee. It's worth the $20 to not have to fight a lightsaber for overhead bin space. All right, we're getting into number one, which is maybe my personal favorite, and that's Magic Kingdom After Hours. If I had to pick the absolute king of worth it extras, it's Magic Kingdom After Hours. I was reading the latest breakdown from Disney Tourist Blog, and Tom Bricker makes a point that I think every overwhelmed mom needs to hear. The biggest thing you are buying isn't a ticket, it's exclusive access. We are talking about a park capacity so low that it feels like you've wandered into a private party. You walk past the outdoor vending carts and just grab a Mickey bar, then a bottle of Coke, then a box of popcorn. It's all included. If you're like me and you can easily crush $50 worth of snacks and drinks as a family, that high ticket price starts to look a lot more reasonable when you realize you aren't opening your wallet once inside the gate. The Samantha strategy note, here is the magic move that will save your night. Show up at 7 p.m. sharp. Your after hours ticket gets you into the park 3 full hours before the event actually starts. Use that time to eat a real dinner, catch the fireworks. Disney Enchantment usually runs specifically for these events, and the low priority stuff out of the way. Then once 10 p.m. hits and the day guests are cleared out, do not rush to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train first. Everyone does that. And it's the one ride that might actually have a 20-minute wait at the start. Instead, head to Adventureland and Frontierland, knock out Big Thunder, Pirates, Jungle Cruise, well, they're literally walk-ons. Save Mine Train and Tron for the final hour at 12:45 a.m. The lines usually vanish, and it's the only time in your life you'll see Fantasyland completely empty. And honestly, that peaceful quiet is the most magical thing Disney sells. So I'm going to tell you a fun pre 2020. In fact, this is way, way before 2009 when After Hours was like included in when you were staying on property. So it was our last day. We had actually stayed off property and we were just staying on property for one night. And I was riding over to Magic Kingdom on the ferry and I heard someone talking about the Magic like After Hours. So I was like, okay. So I went and talked to a cast member and they're like, I don't think there is anything, whatever. Talked to another cast member. Sure enough, there was. It was completely empty, and we just walked on everything. It was great. It was so magical. Main Street was like bare. I know now it gets a little bit more crowded, but I still think like if you're not a rope dropping family, spending the money to go at night from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. is like really cool once you have older kids. And just getting on those rides. And while it is expensive, like it can save you money. You're not going to be buying lightning lanes for everyone. You're not going to be buying individual lightning lanes for everyone. You don't even have to think about the premier pass, obviously. But that's why we love also the parties. They're more expensive, but they're more crowded, not more expensive than the after hours. But either way, I think it's great to be in a different time line for going in Magic Kingdom, and it is very special. All right, so let's talk about the magic move. Here's the strategy. Don't spend your Disney budget evenly. Concentrate it. Instead of constant impulse spending, random snacks, and panic buying $12 bubble wands, pick one or two unforgettable experiences. People remember emotional peaks, not logistical performances. Your kids will not remember that you secured a lightning lane at exactly 7 a.m., but they will remember feeding giraffes or seeing the castle at midnight. Before your trip, ask what experience would feel magical to us specifically, not Instagram, not influencers, to your family. So if I were you, I would stop trying to win Disney. A lot of us accidentally turn Disney into a performance, the perfect itinerary, the perfect outfits, the perfect strategy. And meanwhile, everybody's stressed, especially you. The best Disney trips I've ever had were the ones where we left room for wonder. You do not need to do everything. You need to feel something. Don't ask, is this worth the money? Ask, will this meaningfully change our experience? Sometimes the answer is a resounding yes. Sometimes the answer is, honestly, we'd rather buy snacks and leave by 2 p.m. Both are valid. That's the mind shift, not maximizing, intentionally making things magic. All right, friends, I want to know, what Disney Extra do you think is secretly worth every penny? Come tell me over on Instagram at ThriftEverAfter. because Disney pricing discourse is my favorite hobby. If this helped you figure out where to splurge, send it to your Disney group chat or the person currently making a 47 tab spreadsheet. As always, thank you for hanging out with me here on Ever After Adventures. Keep the magic, skip the chaos, and I'll meet you on Main Street.